You throw away vegetable peels, eggshells, coffee grounds, banana peels, wilted lettuce, every single week. Into the trash, gone. Meanwhile, you're at the garden center, loading bags of compost into your cart. $10 a bag, $12, $20 for the fancy stuff. You're throwing away the exact thing you're paying for. The Amish don't do this. They haven't bought a bag of compost in generations. Every kitchen scrap, every leaf, every bit of straw, it goes into a simple wooden bin. 8 weeks later, they're pulling out the richest, darkest, most nutrient-packed soil you've ever seen. For free. Using waste most people throw away. Today I'm showing you the Amish compost secret that turns your kitchen scraps into rich soil in just 8 weeks. The 5 methods they use that make their system work. The exact bin setup, the layering technique, and the secret ingredient almost nobody talks about that makes compost break down twice as fast. Stay till the end, because that ingredient changes everything. Before we start, drop a comment right now telling me what country you're watching from. I want to see every single location in this community. I post simple tips like this every week. Subscribe so you won't miss out. Let's get into it. The Amish use 5 specific methods that make their compost superior to anything you can buy. I'm walking you through each one, so stay with me. Method 1. The 3-bin system. The Amish don't use one pile. They don't use tumblers. They use 3 connected bins. This is the secret to continuous compost production. While bin 1 is filling with fresh scraps, bin 2 is actively decomposing, and bin 3 holds finished compost ready to use. You never run out. Each bin is 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep, and 3 feet tall minimum. 4 feet by 4 feet is better if you have space. This size is critical. Smaller piles don't generate enough internal heat to break down materials efficiently. Larger piles work, but become harder to turn and manage. The Amish build these bins from wooden pallets, free from local businesses. Stand 4 pallets on edge to create 3 connected sections with dividers between. Wire or rope the corners together. That's it. No fancy hardware. No expensive lumber. Pallets already have gaps for airflow, which is essential for aerobic decomposition. Place bins directly on bare ground. Not concrete, not gravel, not inside a sealed container. Direct ground contact allows earthworms, ground beetles, and soil microorganisms to migrate up into the pile from below. These creatures do massive amounts of decomposition work. Cut them off from the pile and you're relying on bacteria alone, which takes much longer. Site your bins in partial sun. Morning light with afternoon shade is ideal. Full shade keeps piles too cool, especially in zones 3 through 6, where spring and fall temperatures already run cold. Full sun in zones 8 through 11 dries them out too fast, requiring constant watering. Partial sun maintains moisture while providing warmth for microbial activity. If you're realizing a simple 3-bin system solves the continuous compost problem, hit that subscribe button. Method 2. The layering technique. Amish compost works because of how they layer materials. They understand the balance between carbon-rich browns and nitrogen-rich greens. Most people just dump everything in a pile randomly. That creates pockets of slimy anaerobic mess next to dry, unchanged material. Proper layering ensures even decomposition throughout the entire pile. Browns are your dry, carbon-rich materials. Dried leaves, straw, shredded cardboard, wood chips, sawdust, shredded newspaper, dried corn stalks. These provide carbon that feeds decomposer microorganisms. They also create air pockets that allow oxygen to circulate through the pile, which is essential for aerobic bacteria. Greens are your wet, nitrogen-rich materials. Kitchen scraps, vegetable peels, fruit cores, coffee grounds, eggshells, fresh grass clippings, garden trimmings, and the ingredient Amish farms always have available: animal manure. horse, cow, chicken, rabbit. All excellent nitrogen sources that heat up piles quickly. The ratio that makes everything work is 3 parts browns to 1 part greens by volume. Not by weight, by volume. For every bucket of kitchen scraps or manure, add 3 buckets of dried leaves or straw. This 3-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio creates the perfect environment for microorganisms to thrive. Start with a coarse base layer. Small branches or thick corn stalks, about 3 to 4 inches deep across the bottom. This creates air channels underneath the pile that allow oxygen to flow up from below. Without this base layer, the bottom of your pile goes anaerobic, turns slimy, and starts to smell like rotten eggs. Then alternate layers. 4 to 6 inches of browns. 2 to 3 inches of greens. 4 to 6 inches of browns. 2 to 3 inches of greens. Keep alternating like building a lasagna until you reach 3 to 4 feet tall. Think of it as feeding the pile in organized layers, rather than random handfuls. Method 3. The starter culture. Here's something the Amish do that most people skip. Between every few layers, they scatter a thin layer of finished compost, or garden soil. Just a light dusting. This introduces starter cultures of beneficial microorganisms that colonize the entire pile and speed up decomposition. The Amish don't buy compost accelerators or inoculant products. They use a handful of last year's compost from bin 3. Free and more effective than anything sold in a bottle because it contains the exact microorganisms that thrive in their local conditions. As you build layers, lightly water each one. The pile should feel like a wrung-out sponge when you squeeze a handful. Damp but not dripping. Too dry and decomposition stalls because microorganisms can't function without moisture. Too wet, and you drive out oxygen, creating anaerobic conditions and foul smells. Within 3 to 5 days of building a properly layered pile, you'll feel heat radiating from the center. Push your hand 12 inches in. It should feel hot. Internal temperatures reach 130 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. That heat is millions of thermophilic bacteria consuming your scraps and turning them into soil. This heat also kills weed seeds and harmful pathogens. Method 4. The secret ingredient. Now here's the Amish technique that almost nobody talks about but makes an enormous difference. Before adding any brown material to the pile, the Amish chop it into smaller pieces. Leaves get shredded. Straw gets cut into 3 to 4 inch lengths. Corn stalks get split and chopped. Cardboard gets torn into small strips. The reason is simple biology. Decomposition happens on surfaces. Bacteria and fungi consume material from the outside in. They can't eat through the middle. A whole dried leaf might take 4 to 6 months to break down because it has limited surface area. That same leaf shredded into small pieces breaks down in 3 to 4 weeks because you've multiplied the surface area that microorganisms can attack by 10 or 20 times. The Amish don't use fancy chipper shredders or expensive equipment. They run a push mower over piles of dry leaves spread on the ground. The mower chops and shreds everything in seconds. They chop straw with a machete or garden shears. They run over materials with a wheelbarrow several times to crush them. Simple tools. 5 minutes of effort cuts total composting time by a third. I started doing this 3 years ago after watching an Amish farmer prepare his browns before adding them to the pile. My compost now finishes in 8 weeks instead of 12. Same materials, same layering, same moisture. Only difference is shredding browns before adding them. That one change transformed my timeline. Type shredding if you're going to start chopping your browns before composting them. Method 5. Reading the pile. The Amish don't turn their compost on a rigid calendar schedule. They read the pile and let the pile tell them when it needs turning. Within the first week, the pile heats up dramatically as thermophilic bacteria multiply and consume materials. After 10 to 14 days, that internal heat begins dropping as the most easily consumed materials get used up. That drop in temperature is your signal to turn. Use a garden fork or pitchfork. Push it into the pile and flip material so what was on the outside moves to the center and what was in the center moves to the outside. This does two things. It reintroduces oxygen throughout the pile, which reinvigorates aerobic bacteria. And it moves cooler, less decomposed material from the edges into the hot center, where the most active breakdown happens. The pile will heat up again within a day or two, as fresh material hits the hot zone and oxygen floods back in. You'll go through this cycle 3 to 4 times over 8 to 12 weeks. Heat, cool, turn, reheat. Heat, cool, turn, reheat. Each cycle breaks materials down further. After the final turn, the pile stays warm but not hot. Materials turn dark brown to black. Original scraps become completely unrecognizable. Texture turns crumbly. Check moisture weekly throughout this process. Grab a handful from about a foot into the pile. Should feel like a wrung-out sponge. If too dry, water gently with a hose. If too wet, add a layer of dry browns on top and turn the pile to reintroduce oxygen and absorb excess moisture. The Amish No compost is ready when it looks and smells like rich soil, dark brown to black color. Crumbly texture that falls apart in your hands. Earthy forest floor smell. No recognizable materials remaining. No intact leaves. No visible kitchen scraps. No identifiable straw. Just uniform, rich amendment, ready to feed your garden. The Amish apply finished compost twice a year. Early spring before planting, and fall after clearing summer crops. 2 applications per year keep soil improving continuously instead of depleting. Spread 2 to 3 inches across garden beds. Work it into the top 4 to 6 inches of soil using a garden fork or spade. For new beds that have never been amended, go heavier. 3 to 4 inches worked deep makes an enormous difference in the first season. For established beds that have been amended for several years, 2 inches maintains productivity. 5 methods the Amish use to turn kitchen scraps into superior compost. 3-bin system for continuous production. Proper layering of browns and greens at 3-to-1 ratio. Starter culture from last year's finished compost. Shredding all browns before adding to multiply surface area. Reading the pile for turning signals instead of following a calendar. 8 weeks later you have compost that's better than anything you can buy. For free. Made from waste you used to throw away. What waste are you throwing away that you're going to start composting? Coffee grounds, vegetable peels, grass clippings? Drop a comment and tell me exactly what you're wasting. And if you're already making compost, share what's working for you and what you're struggling with, so this community can learn from your experience. If this changed how you think about kitchen waste and garden soil, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this with anyone still buying bagged compost every spring. You're not throwing away garbage. You're throwing away your best soil amendment. The Amish figured this out generations ago. Now you have too. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.